Welcome to the 16th season of the Nitwits, a weekly roundtable discussion on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Our panel includes Neil Riddell of the Altoona Mirror, Mark Brennan of FightOnState.com, Sports Director Casey Kantz of WTAJ Sports, and a special guest analyst each week. The Nitwits are brought to you by Irwin Financial Raymond James, an independent firm and firm foundation for your financial future. Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Doctors Howells and Reed, orthodontics for children and adults. By Pacifico's Bakery, genuine Italian bread and rolls for your tailgating needs. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue in Altoona, just ask rental. By the Altoona Professional Hearing Aid Center, your hearing aid healthcare professional. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your cleaning needs. By your rehab choice, Health South of Altoona. Ask for us by name. By J&P Auto, home of the $1,000 push, pull, or tow. By Courtesy Motors of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By the Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State game day every Friday.
Welcome inside another edition of the Nitwits. Casey Kantz alongside Neil Riddell and Mark Brennan, and a great guest today, Mr. Lou Prado. Welcome, Lou.
Thanks for having me. Always nice to be a nit with a bunch of wits.
Yeah, how you doing? Good.
Oh, I'm doing fine. You know, I had a knee replacement, so I'm still hopping around with that, but it's coming along. And my new book's out. You know,
it is. We're going to talk about that coming up. It's a great read if you haven't had a chance to read it yet. But let's talk about some football. Penn State 2-0 now after a big 45-7 win over Eastern Michigan in the home opener on Saturday. We'll talk about the offense, and we'll talk about Christian Hackenberg right off the start. Had some early struggles, completed just one of his first 5 passes, Neil, but 45 unanswered eventually for this Penn State offense, and Hackenberg eventually got it going.
Yeah, the in-game adjustments and improvements that you're seeing from him through 2 weeks, I think, have been really impressive. He shakes off bad plays well. Twice so far this year, the quarterback has dropped the ball without being hit, but you're going to get that with a freshman quarterback. But the way he's responded to it, he really seems to have a short memory, and real impressed.
Yeah, I like the job the coaching staff's done with him, too. I mean, there was never any hint after a couple of mistakes that they were going to take him out. They stuck with him. Bill O'Brien went over and talked to him when he needed to. And at the end of the day, listen, he gives up the fumble for a touchdown, comes right back, hits Allen Robinson on a long bomb to set up the next score, and they never really looked back. But the improvement, as Neil said, within the game, to me, has been amazing for a player of his age.
Yeah, and he has a lot of poise. And, the first 3 passes were overthrown. The receivers were open, and it was just settle down. And I really like, the fact that he was thinking on his feet a lot. He got sacked a couple times, and I think it was a good sack because he couldn't throw it away, but he threw it away. I sort of glad he fumbled. I wish it hadn't been a touchdown because it got Tyler Ferguson off the hook, so to speak. And I felt sorry for that kid after that disaster last.
Is that a play specifically that you're not going to be able to get away with as the schedule goes on? Maybe not that you ever want to see a quarterback fumble that way, and especially on Saturday when it leads to a touchdown, but. It was Eastern Michigan. You can maybe get away with it this week, but not something down the road.
Well, starting this week. I mean, Central Florida is going to pose a much more significant challenge. And I like what to the Blues' point, you're seeing some veteran tendencies out of this young quarterback already. The way he keeps his eyes downfield, the way he slid after a scramble.
He sells that bootleg. I mean, that's.
Yeah.
If I know you run the camera sometimes. I mean, that jukes out me from the press box, and it's unbelievable. A kid of his age.
The touchdown pass to Allen Robinson too, I thought was great. The way he kind of climbed up in the pocket, the defense kind of came at him, and he just popped it right over their head, and there goes Allen Robinson. The other thing, I mean, you have to remember that this kid is blessed to have Allen Robinson out there, because you get the sense that if they wanted to, they could pass it to him on every single play. I mean, they could flare it out to him for 5 or 6 yards every play. Now, you don't want to do that, because you can't do that when the Big Ten season hits. But I think it's to have that sort of receiver And, you know, Felder he is just now. He dropped the Mosby. But to have the receiving core they have has been really good for
And
them.
the addition of the legacy recruit, Richie Anderson. I have to throw the legacy recruit
Yeah.
out there.
Nice
But I
day on
mean,
Saturday.
if he, did you see his speed?
Yes.
I mean, and if they were flooding one side. If those two guys one of them's going to be open. I mean, I don't know who can cover them. Or maybe somebody can cover them. But boy, those two guys, if they get going, that could be a great combination.
He caught two, and he was open deep for a touchdown. So they missed him a couple times. I was impressed with the running game. The last 25 carries, the second half, they averaged 7.5 a crack.
Yeah, the other thing that you could see is that defenses are really going out of their way to take away the tight end as best they can. Kyle Carter's been banged up with the hyperextended elbow, so he had a couple catches, but he's not been the factor yet. But once he gets fully healthy, and once they have to start adjusting to the wideouts, then I think you're going to see more out of the tight ends.
But they have to get rid of those penalties. I mean, they made too many mistakes. I mean, Joe used to complain about that, and Bill's starting to complain about it, and not the same way, but it may get that way sometimes.
We're going to talk about that in a bit. I want to get back to your run point, though, because that was kind of an emphasis this week. Following the Syracuse game, 80 yards or so game between Zach Zwinak and Bill Belton against Syracuse. But then we threw in Akeel Lynch on Saturday. We saw that Penn State offense. 5 touchdowns combined between Lynch, Zwinak, and Belton. And plus they had 251 yards or so on the ground. It was a big, big upgrade for them.
Yeah, like how they've worked Lynch into the game. We were kind of waiting for that. Notice that he wasn't the kick returner this week, that they had put Lewis back there with Walker.
Yeah.
But Lynch brings another dimension. Looks like he hits the holes really well. And I thought Bill Belton looked quicker than I think we've ever seen him.
Well, I mean, he looked good at the beginning of last season, then he was hurt. And I just think it's a matter of confidence. The one, I think, kind of worrisome thing out of that game, through the first 3 quarters, they were only averaging 3.5 yards per carry. That offensive line, you know, supposed to be a veteran group, did not play well the first 3 quarters. Now, to their credit, they picked it up and wiped the floor with Eastern Michigan in that 4th quarter.
But Eastern Michigan was getting a little tired.
Yeah,
too.
but guess what, Lou? Penn State only has 65 scholarships. Eastern Michigan has 85. Don't forget that. I mean, Eastern Michigan, by right, should have more depth than Penn State does, even if it isn't a quality level. But my point being is that these guys were clearly in great shape and came around when they needed to, but I don't know that you're going to be able to afford to wait until the fourth quarter to get things done in the Big Ten.
They need to come along.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw some good things from that Penn State run game, no doubt. We want to talk about the offensive line and some of those penalty concerns. We're going to talk about that coming up in just a bit. We got to talk about the defense as well, guys, because, yeah, they pitched a shutout on Saturday afternoon. We'll talk about that solid defensive effort coming up next. You're watching the Nitwits. Stay with us.
The Nitwits are brought to you by Irwin Financial Raymond James, an independent firm and firm foundation for your financial future. Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Doctors Howells and Reed, orthodontics for children and adults. By Pacifico's Bakery, genuine Italian bread and rolls for your tailgating needs. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue in Altoona, just ask rental.
I'm Miles Diefenbach from your Penn State Nittany Lions, and you're watching the Nitwits.
Always the comedian, Miles Diefenbach. Thanks for the nice intro right there. Before we talk a little bit more about Penn State's big win over Eastern Michigan on Saturday, we do have Lou Prado on the set with us as our guest this week on the Nitwits, and Lou's got a brand new book called We Are Penn State. Looks back at the 2012 season. Lou, you are the ultimate Penn State historian, and this book really shows that and symbolizes that. Talk about your new book that has now come out.
Well, it's a diary, my diary of the 2012 season. I didn't plan to write a diary. The publisher who published my other 2 books, What It Means to Be Nittany Lion and the Greatest Plays book, called me after the season, right after the season, and said, how would you like to write about Penn State football? And they said they'd send me a book. They had done a couple books like this before, one with Ohio State, and so they did a diary. So in January, I had to start to put the diary, and thank God we have some great beat reporters like Neil and the guy at the end of the line who plays a big
Brennan.
He plays a big part in the book. I give him credit, even his videos. But
Thank you.
But Mark did it. But I could take transcripts and that and put together a diary of the season. It starts from Joe's last win of all time, obviously, up to Marty's speech at the Maxwell Club.
Well, it's a great read. Where can the folks get it? And if they want to read it as well.
It's available at the Penn State bookstores, available online. I'm selling my books myself, but I don't make much money
Lou has them out of
myself.
the back of his
I
truck.
don't.
He's got a van.
I don't-
drives around.
Who will deliver this book? Just call Lou, and he'll drive it to Tamaqua.
No.
By the way, I mean,
Make him
that's-
a nice Italian
No, I
meal.
have to
He'll
tell you,
When I
say.
grow up, I want to be like Lou
I
Prado.
signed books before at the Penn State bookstore yesterday before the game. 2.5 hours out there. I'm going to do a Michigan game too, and I hit a record of all the any time I've ever signed books. If you sign 4 or 5 books or 10, that's pretty good success depending where you're at. I signed more than 35, and they were coming up talking, and not of them were all my friends. You know, they were coming up telling me about it. So
His grandkids.
By the way, it's not an exaggeration to see you like drive by and honk sometimes. You've certainly done that to me before. Good stuff. But go check out the book. It's We Are Penn State. It's on bookshelf everywhere right now. Lou Prado. And it's a great read, definitely. We got to talk more about this Penn State win, 45-7 over Eastern Michigan on Saturday. The Penn State offense we talked about in the first block, they outgained Eastern Michigan in total yards, 574 to 183. But you touched on a point, Lou, the offensive line and some of those early penalty concerns. And is it, Neil, starting to become maybe a concern a little bit, the holding specifically?
Well, 3 holds, 2 in a row during a 2-minute drill. And I get the idea that Bill O'Brien was real pleased with the overall performance yesterday. It was a little curt in the post game. And I just think that more was expected of the offensive line, whether people are ganging up, and particularly early in games. I think that'll be a point of emphasis this week.
Yeah, I think the other huge concern, if it should be, if it's not, is the 2 for 26 on 3rd down this season.
Yeah,
you really can't. That's last in the Big Ten by a long shot. Now, a lot of that is because of the penalties and the sacks and putting yourself in long down and distance situations. But that's something that, when you talk about 2 nice wins to open the season, and I like both of these wins because they overcame a little bit of adversity. They dominated a team they should have dominated on Saturday. But there's still a lot of room for improvement.
Yeah, I think the 45 points maybe outshadows the fact they went 1 for 10.
one thing about those penalties,
Saturday.
the refs were calling a pretty close game. I mean,
For Penn State.
yeah. Well, I mean,
The Big Ten crew, I mean.
EMU only had 2 penalties, so I don't.
I mean, I don't know, but if you look at, I mean, they were calling a close game. There's no doubt about it. But they overcame penalties. But I was disappointed in the offensive line. Maybe the offensive line's overrated. I don't know, but I hope not.
Yeah, I'd split hairs with you, Mark, a little bit on dominant. I don't think they were dominant in the first half, anyway.
Well, overall, you win 45-7. I mean, you're just upset because
I
you're
said
not
I'd-
Nitwit of the week.
Hey,
The guy who picked the widest margin is.
that's
And
right.
he's not even here
So
this
we
week.
gave him a week off.
Hint, 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 hint. You say dominant. Dominant could probably describe the Penn State defensive effort because they came up huge again on Saturday. The only points was the Hackenberg fumble in the first quarter. I mean, another solid effort, headlined again by Daquan Jones in a second straight 9-tackle performance from Day-Day.
Well, you mentioned it last week about John Butler, so I got to give you a little credit.
Oh, thank you.
But look at the flexibility they're showing. I mean, they were without Hull and Klein yesterday, and they're mixing and matching, and so far I think the defense has really gone beyond expectations. These young defensive backs played well. Davis got in there yesterday.
Hitting hard, too.
Yeah,
Big hits.
Daquan Jones stepping up. I mean, we mentioned it last week that this guy has been a complimentary player to this point of his career. They asked him to step up as a leader, and boy, has he done so. I mean, you could see he was in on so many plays. He ranks among the Big Ten leaders in tackles, which is nuts.
I guess what I'd like to see is some turnovers, an interception, a forcing a fumble. I think we haven't seen much of that yet. A couple of the interceptions last week, but they really didn't a blocked kick. They didn't try to rush the punter. I mean,
I thought that they put a
They put a
decent
good rush.
on
But
it,
they-
maybe without the idea they were trying
but
to
they weren't
block.
trying. They put a good rush because it kept them bottled up. But I'd just like to see that because that would help even give them more confidence.
Hey, a big afternoon for Penn State. Obviously, any afternoon's big when you get a 45-7 win, but not necessarily the point margin that Penn State won by. A special afternoon for another reason, too. A jersey retirement of a Nittany Lion legend. We'll talk about John Capoletti and his impact on the Penn State football program coming up next. You're watching the Nitwits.
The Nitwits are brought to you by the Altoona Professional Hearing Aid Center, your hearing aid healthcare professional. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your cleaning needs. By your rehab choice, Health South of Altoona. Ask for us by name. By J&P Auto, home of the $1,000 push, pull, or tow. By Courtesy Motors of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal.
The Nitwits, a weekly look at the Nittany Lions.
There you see it right there, that 73 undefeated team headlined by John Cappelletti.
Sprint out draw.
Man, and he was what a story that team was, Lou. It's fitting we have you on the set this week. John Cappelletti, the only Heisman winner in Penn State football history, and now has his jersey retired on Saturday. What a ceremony that was.
Yeah, it's great. And John didn't get emotional down there, but I was at the reception they had for John after, and he got very emotional. He had me crying what he was saying, and he deserves it. You know, Joe didn't want to retire uniforms. This was no one player stands above the other.
He was against retirement in general.
That's a good
Anyway.
line there, Mark. But there's a criteria here. I mean, you know, we don't have much time to talk about, but there's more than just football players. You have to be retired 40 years, and you have to have won a Player of the Year award in your sport. So there's a lot of All-Americans who are not going to have their number retired, and you have to graduate.
I think it's a great gesture, a great place to start. And I think as Penn State continues to move forward to its next chapter, bringing back some of these legends. I mean, just look at the fan reaction when they announced this yesterday, the introduction of Cappy and the idea that they were going to retire this this number was, I think, fantastic. And, you know, hey, the only thing that I would quibble with a little bit is this was an opportunity, and this is a bigger picture in reaction to the STEP program. I mean, I would have announced this a couple weeks ago. I think that might have made the difference in a few thousand seats.
Yeah, and I
It's
guess
the lowest crowd you had in 20 years for a home opener.
Yeah, I'll be the wet blanket. I mean, the one thing is with this, where do you stop? I know you're painting out these criteria that they made that seem to fit Cappelletti perfectly, and you can't understate what he did with the speech and winning the Heisman, but there have been a lot of great players who have gone through this program, some very recently, who have meant every bit as much as he did. And I just wonder where you stop when you start retiring numbers.
But it's like the College Football Hall of Fame. Lenny Moore, one of our greatest players, I think perhaps our greatest, will never get into the College Football Hall of Fame because he doesn't qualify. You have to be a first-team All-American, and you know we weren't as great back then. He turned out to be a great pro. So you know there's a criteria.
Who sets the criteria? I guess is my question.
You know they set the criteria. You can always change the criteria. You know there's always things that can come around.
And Akeel Lynch will keep that number 22.
John talked about it. He loved being able to tell them. They said,
great.
make sure you give it back. Get it back after you use it.
That's great.
I want it back after you use it.
Yeah, from all of us, huge congratulations to John Cappelletti. It was a fantastic ceremony on Saturday. We got to take our final break, though. Central Florida's up next for Penn State. Another home game coming up this week. Our picks and our Week 2 Nitwit of the Week. I don't see him here. That's coming up next after the break.
The Nitwits are brought to you by The Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State game day every Friday.
I'm Stephen O'Bang Entrepreneur from your Nittany Lions. You're watching the Nitwits.
Bang, bang. Stephen Obeng Aljapon welcoming us back. It's time for our picks and our unveiling of the Nitwit of the Week. Guys, Penn State going to look to move to 3-0. Another home game this week. The second straight. 6 p.m. kick with Central Florida. Could be an intriguing matchup, I guess, if you look at it. A Central Florida team that obviously hasn't played the caliber of opponents maybe that would be big opponents, but they have outscored them the first 2 weeks, 76-7. How do you see this week going down, Neil?
Well, I think it's going to be a little more competitive. A little air was taken out. Northwestern crushed Syracuse last night.
Yes, they did.
Central Florida beat Akron bad, but Akron struggled with James Madison. Yeah. So who knows? It's still early. I'm going to say Penn State 27, Central Florida 19.
You know, it's hard to get a gauge on this because neither team has played a great opponent. And what you do know is you have two good coaching staff. Some Bortles from Central Florida has been playing real well. I just think Penn State's been improving. It's at home. I'll go 23-17 Penn State.
There are
Lou.
a lot of people in Orlando, including some of the sports writers and some friends of mine, I think, they're Penn State fans that think they're going to win. That Central Florida's going to win.
Really?
Go ahead, Lou.
Yeah, but
Carry that
Side
on.
with your friends? Or
No,
gonna side with your-
I know.
Are you gonna name them?
As Mark knows, I never make predictions. If you look back when I was on this show before, I don't make
You
predictions.
have to, Lou.
Well, I'm
Put
going to
the chair in a hole.
Wait a minute, but I'm going to make an exception. I'm going to say
nice.
I'm good because I'm a rooter, so I'm rooting for Penn State. I don't know. It could be closer. I mean, like Mark, Neil and I were talking earlier. It could be a close game, but it could be a blow. We don't know. So just to be part of the Nitwit crowd, I'm going to just say it's going to beat them. Penn State will beat them by 14 points. How's that? I'm not going to give a score.
That's all right.
All right.
Okay.
You're making Mike look concise.
That means
He doesn't have a pen though.
we got about 15 seconds
know-
left. I think Penn State 33-20. So take that as it will. Gentlemen, that does it for another week. Thanks, Lou, for stopping by.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate
Hey, good
it.
luck with the booklet.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thanks for
For Lou,
mentioning,
Neil,
guys.
Mark, I'm Casey. We'll see you next week.
The Nitwits have been brought to you by Irwin Financial Raymond James, an independent firm and firm foundation for your financial future. Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Doctors Howells and Reed, orthodontics for children and adults. By Pacifico's Bakery, genuine Italian bread and rolls for your tailgating needs. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue in Altoona, just ask rental. By the Altoona Professional Hearing Aid Center, your hearing aid healthcare professional. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your cleaning needs. By your rehab choice, Health South of Altoona, ask for us by name. By J&P Auto, home of the $1,000 push, pull, or tow. By Courtesy Motors of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By the Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State game day every Friday. You can also see the Nitwits on AltoonaMirror.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.